Hello and welcome to Lost Love Chronicles.
Why don't you just disappear? My daughter snapped during the argument. Then her mother added, "We'd be better off without you." I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I just quietly packed my bag. This morning, I woke up to 27 missed calls. I used to believe words were just words. Temporary. Meaningless when flung in anger. But some sentences cut deeper than any punch. One moment, one sentence, and everything you believed in can start to unravel. Why don't you just disappear? Mira said it at dinner. Not yelling, not in a fit like when she was younger. This was different. Her voice was calm, deliberate like she had rehearsed it. Then Riley delivered the final blow. We'd be better off without you. At first, I thought I misheard her. Maybe Myra's words had already rattled me, and my mind twisted Riley's. But no, her tone was level. Cold. No anger. No slammed silverware or raised voice. She just said it like a fact. Like something long decided. I stared at her, silently begging for something, anything. A flicker of doubt, an apology, even a grimace. But she just sipped her wine, eyes locked anywhere but on mine. The silence that followed wasn't just quiet. It was oppressive, like a weight settling on my chest. I looked at Mira, 16, not my daughter by blood, but by choice. She'd been 12 when Riley and I married. She'd been tough, even then guarded. I worked hard to earn her trust. Late-night chats about books. Movie nights where she pretended not to laugh at my awful dad jokes. Helping her with math when she refused to ask her mom. And now 4 words had erased all of that. I could have fought back. I could have reminded them of the times I'd shown up. Of Jared, the biological father who'd disappeared for years. I could have demanded answers. But I didn't. I stood up, chair scraping across the wood floor, and walked away. I could feel their eyes on me as I climbed the stairs. I wanted to look back, to catch a flash of regret, hesitation, anything. But I didn't give them that. I went to our room, grabbed my old duffel, and started packing. Slowly, deliberately. This wasn't a rage-fueled exit. I chose every item carefully. A few shirts. Enough clothes for a few days. Toothbrush. Phone charger. Passport just in case. And strangely, my hands were steady. I always imagined if things ended like this, I'd fall apart. Cry. Beg. Try to fix what was breaking. But I didn't. I was calm. Too calm. Downstairs, I heard muffled voices. Mira stomping off. Dishes clinking as Riley cleared the table. But no one came after me. No one stopped me. The realization hit hard like a punch to the gut. They didn't care. They weren't expecting me to fight back. They weren't expecting me to stay. And for the first time, I truly felt like a stranger in my own home. I zipped up my bag, slung it over my shoulder, and headed downstairs. Riley stood by the kitchen counter, arms crossed. Her face gave nothing away, not anger, not regret. Just waiting. "So you're just leaving?" she asked. "You said you'd be better off," I replied, checking my pocket for the keys. "I'm respecting that." Her lips parted slightly like she might say something, but then she closed them again. Pride? Guilt? Or maybe just that same stubborn streak that had built walls between us. I walked to the front door, hand resting on the handle. Before stepping out, I turned to her one last time. "You know," I said quietly, "when Mira said what she did, it hurt. But hearing you agree, that broke something in me, Riley." She blinked. Once. No sharp comeback. No cutting remark. Just silence. I opened the door and stepped out. The cold night air slapped my face, but I welcomed it. It felt real, more real than anything that had happened in that house over the past hour. I got in my car and drove off without looking back. It wasn't until I pulled into Noah's driveway that it fully sank in. This wasn't just a fight. This wasn't just a bad night. I might never go back. And the scariest part? I wasn't sure I wanted to. Waking up in an unfamiliar bed wasn't the worst part. It was the silence. You ever notice how a house sounds different depending on who's in it? Even in sleep, a home has a pulse, soft breathing from another room. The creak of someone shifting under the covers, the hum of the fridge, the whisper of the heater. But Noah's guest room was dead quiet. Not peaceful, just empty. I lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying everything from the night before on a loop. Why don't you just disappear? We'd be better off without you. Those words had settled deep inside me, like stones on my chest, pressing down with each breath. I thought maybe the daylight would make it easier. Maybe I'd wake up to a text from Riley saying she didn't mean it. Maybe Mira would apologize. I turned over and grabbed my phone. 27 missed calls. Riley, Mira, even Oriana, my sister. I exhaled slowly. I should have felt relief, right? If they were calling, maybe something had shifted. Maybe Riley regretted what she'd said. Maybe Mira saw my empty chair at breakfast and felt the weight of it. Maybe. But something felt wrong. Riley wasn't the kind of person to call 15 times unless it was serious. And Oriana? She never got involved unless she had to. A bad feeling crawled up my spine. I sat up and threw on the jeans I'd worn the night before, still creased from sleep. Noah was already in the kitchen, scrolling through his phone, coffee in hand. "You look like hell," he said without glancing up. "Good morning to you too," I muttered, grabbing a mug. He finally looked at me. "You check your phone yet?" I nodded, taking a sip. 27 missed calls. Noah raised an eyebrow. "You call back?" I shook my head. He studied me for a second, then turned his phone around and slid it across the counter. I looked down at the screen, not understanding what I was seeing at first. It was a photo of a man smiling at a restaurant table, tagged at a location in Chicago. The caption was simple: "Reunited at last. Family is everything." And sitting right next to him, Mira, smiling, happy. The man beside her was Jared. I blinked, looked again. My stomach twisted. "When was this taken?" My voice was low, steady. "Posted last night," Noah said, sipping his coffee. "Looks like he's been back in town for a while." I stared at Myra's face. That hopeful smile, the kind she used to have when something wonderful was about to happen. When she got accepted into that summer program. When she finally nailed parallel parking after weeks of practice. That's the look she was giving Jared. Like he was the answer to everything. Like he hadn't vanished for years. My hands tightened around the phone as I scrolled down. The comments were full of hearts, friends cheering her on. "So happy for you. Finally together." They didn't know. They didn't know Jared had missed 6 birthdays. That he promised her a beach trip when she was 10 and never showed. That the last time he reappeared, he stayed 2 weeks before vanishing again. And Riley, she let this happen. I opened my call log, hovered over Riley's name. I should call. I should demand an explanation. But I didn't. Instead, I did something I hadn't done in months. I checked Myra's Instagram. Her latest post, a selfie with Jared. The caption, "Real family time." I inhaled sharply. Real family. I wasn't in any of her photos. I kept scrolling past recent posts, past birthdays and holidays, past trips I remembered vividly. I wasn't in a single one. Even the ones I knew. I had been in Yellowstone last summer, Christmas morning, her 16th birthday party. I was gone. Not just untagged. Erased. A hollow ache spread through my chest. This wasn't just about last night. This wasn't rebellion. This wasn't anger. This was erasure. I set the phone down carefully. My coffee had gone cold. I pushed it aside. Noah must have seen something shift in me, because his expression softened. "You okay?" I exhaled, slow, deliberate. "No." He nodded, like he'd been expecting that. "You going to call her?" Riley's name still lit up my screen. I stared at it. Then I looked back at Myra's post. Real family time. I made a decision. I slid the phone back across the counter and stood up. "I'm going home," I said. Noah didn't try to stop me. Because this time, I wasn't going back for them. I was going back to see what was left of me. The drive home was quieter than I expected. No radio. No traffic, I noticed. Just my thoughts, circling the same truth, over and over. I had been erased. Not just forgotten. Not just ignored. Erased. Mira hadn't simply stopped speaking to me, she had rewritten the past. The vacations, the birthdays, the quiet moments we shared gone. And Riley had let it happen. The closer I got to the house, the tighter the knot in my stomach pulled. I didn't know what I was walking into. Were they waiting for me? Had Mira even noticed I was gone? Did Riley regret any of it? Or was she already picturing a life where I didn't exist? I pulled into the driveway and stared at the house I had called home for years. Nothing looked different from the outside. The lawn was trimmed, the lights were on. To a stranger, everything looked perfectly normal. They wouldn't know the man inside had been told plainly that he was unwanted. I stepped out of the car, pocketed my keys, and walked up to the porch. My fingers hesitated on the door handle. I wasn't coming back to beg. I wasn't here to fight. I just needed to see, to confirm what I already suspected. When I stepped inside, I was met with silence. Not the peaceful, familiar kind. The heavy, unnatural kind, like even the house was holding its breath. And then I saw it. The wall of family photos. I had noticed the missing frames before, but standing there now, it hit harder. This wasn't just a few pictures out of place. I had been deliberately removed. One by one. The memories we shared rewritten. The Yellowstone trip, I took that photo. Now there was an awkward gap where I had once stood. Christmas morning, Mira had sat next to me, unwrapping that book she'd begged for all year. Now the picture looked wrong, off, like someone had been cut away. I took a step back. My breathing was even, but my fists clenched at my sides. This wasn't carelessness. This was calculated. Upstairs, the floor creaked. A door clicked shut soft, but not unnoticed. Mira. I stood still, listening. Then, after a pause, I heard her footsteps move toward the stairs. I turned in time to see her coming down, phone in hand, eyes averted. She didn't greet me, didn't say a word, just passed by, heading into the kitchen. "Morning," I said evenly. She paused just for a second. Then, without looking at me, she muttered, "Morning." The tension hung thick in the air. 3 years of building trust, of showing up, of being the one who never left, and this was where we had ended up. That's a lot of college you've erased, I said, keeping my tone calm. Finally, she looked at me. Mom wanted me to. Of course. It hadn't even been her idea. She shifted uncomfortably, fingers wrapped tightly around her phone like it was a lifeline. How long has this been going on? I asked. She frowned. What? The photos. The erasing. How long? This time, she met my eyes fully. The defiance from the night before was still there, but beneath it, something else flickered. Something quieter. Something almost fragile. Guilt. A while, she admitted. Before last night. She nodded. I let that settle in. So this wasn't about the fight. This wasn't a burst of anger or a teenage rebellion. She had been preparing for this. Is this what you wanted? I asked quietly, to pretend I was never here. She exhaled sharply and looked away. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Her jaw tightened. I don't know, okay? It felt easier. Easier? Yeah, she snapped. Easier than having to explain. Easier than. She stopped herself, shaking her head like she'd already said too much. I watched her, keeping my voice level. Explain what, Mira? Her phone buzzed. She glanced down. I didn't have to ask who it was. Jared, I said. She looked up slowly, her silence all the confirmation I needed. How long has he been talking to you? She hesitated. Another answer without words. Before last night. Before this week. More silence. Then finally. Months. I closed my eyes, just for a moment, letting the weight of it hit. Months. While I was under the same roof, thinking things were okay, he'd been whispering in her ear, shaping her view, spinning his version of the past. Did Mom know? She nodded. She didn't want to tell you. She thought it would just make things worse. Worse. Riley had known. She had known Jared was back. That he was talking to Mira. That he was twisting the truth. And she had let it happen. Did he tell you to do it? I asked, voice even. Erase me? Myra's lips parted slightly. That flicker of guilt came back, quick and sharp. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. I nodded, stepping back. Got it. Mira shifted, clearly uncomfortable. It's not. I raised a hand. You don't have to explain. I turned toward the door. I'd heard enough. Because now I understood. This wasn't just a teenager lashing out. This was Jared's doing, and Riley had stood by. As I walked out, one thing was certain. This wasn't over. I didn't drive far. I couldn't. I pulled into an empty cafe parking lot and sat in silence. The anger from the night before was no longer simmering. It was burning. But it wasn't just anger anymore. It was betrayal. Mira had been talking to Jared for months. Riley had known. Neither had said a word. I leaned forward, resting my forehead against the steering wheel, breathing slowly, deliberately. I wasn't going to fall apart. I wasn't going to lose it. I needed to think. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat. I didn't look. I already knew who it was. I let it ring. Let the silence settle. Then I picked it up. Missed calls. Yesterday. 8 more this morning. Riley. Mira. Oriana. And now, a number I didn't recognize. I hesitated. Then answered. Hello? Mr. Carter? The voice was unfamiliar, professional. A woman. This is Mrs. Taylor. I'm Myra's guidance counselor at Westbridge High. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. I sat up. No, it's fine. What's going on? There was a pause. A careful breath. I wanted to reach out because I've noticed some recent changes in Myra's academic plans that concern me. My grip on the phone tightened. Changes? Yes. As of yesterday, she submitted withdrawal forms for all of her advanced placement classes. She's also dropped French club and student council. I blinked, barely processing. I asked her why. Mrs. Taylor continued, her voice calm but tinged with concern, and she said she's transferring schools next semester. I almost dropped the phone. She what? Mrs. Taylor continued, her tone calm but edged with concern. She requested her transcripts be sent to 3 schools in Chicago. My stomach twisted. Jared. Chicago. I ran a hand down my face. And you're just telling me this now? To be honest, I would have reached out sooner, she said, but her mother signed off on everything. I assumed it was a joint family decision. A bitter laugh escaped me. Yeah, no, definitely not a family decision. Another pause. I see. Mr. Carter, I don't mean to overstep, but I've known Mira since her freshman year. She's always been focused, ambitious. She had a clear plan for college. And now, in just a matter of days, she's giving all of that up to follow someone to another city. That's not normal. No, it wasn't. It was classic manipulation. I shut my eyes and took a deep breath. Did she say anything else? Only that she's found a new opportunity, and that her father believes she's wasting her potential here. Her father. Not me. Not the man who raised her. Not the man who sat through every school event, every midnight breakdown, every tearful moment when she didn't believe in herself. Jared had dropped back into her life after years and already convinced her to throw her future away. I fought to keep my voice even. Did she say what kind of opportunity? A pause. She said something in business, a startup. My jaw tightened. Let me guess, her father's startup? Yes. I let out a laugh, but there was no amusement behind it. Just fury. Just disbelief. I knew exactly what was happening. Jared had pulled this before. Not just with Mira. Not just with Riley. With others. Years ago, he convinced Riley to lend him $20,000 for a sure-thing business venture. She never saw a cent of it. When Mira was 13, he popped back up, promising her the world only to disappear 2 weeks later after conning another $5,000 out of Riley. Now he was back again. I exhaled slowly, steadying myself. Mrs. Taylor, I need to ask you something. And I need you to be completely honest. Of course. Do you think Myra's making these decisions because she truly believes in them, or because someone is manipulating her? Another pause. Then quietly. I think she's being manipulated. I closed my eyes. That was all I needed. Thank you, I said. I appreciate you calling. If there's anything I can do, I'll handle it, I said. And I meant it. I ended the call and stared out through the windshield. Mira wasn't just pulling away from me. She was being pulled. I knew Jared. I knew his games. Convincing her to erase me? That was only step one. Next came dependence. Get her tied to him emotionally, financially. Make her believe he's the only one who sees her potential. I couldn't let that happen. I wouldn't. I drew in a slow breath, grounded myself. First step, I needed to see Riley. I started the car, backed out of the lot, and headed home. When I pulled into the driveway, Riley's car was already there. Good. I stepped out, walked to the front door, and knocked hard. A moment later, it opened. Riley stood there, arms crossed, eyes wary. You're back. I pushed past her, stepping inside. Where's Mira? She's out, Riley said, closing the door behind me. What's going on? I turned to face her. You tell me. Because I just got off the phone with Mrs. Taylor, and she says our daughter is dropping out of everything and transferring to Chicago. Riley's expression faltered for a split second, then the mask returned. I was going to tell you, she said. When? My voice was sharp. When she was already gone. Riley sighed, rubbing her temple. Landon, how long have you known? I cut in. How long have you known he was back? That he was talking to her? That he's been filling her head with this crap? Her lips pressed into a thin line. A few months. My stomach twisted. Months? I took a slow step forward. And you didn't think I deserved to know? Riley lifted her chin. I thought I could handle it. You thought you could handle Jared? I scoffed. The same man who stole from you? The one who lied to Mira, abandoned her, disappeared for years at a time, and now suddenly you believe he just wants to be a father? She hesitated. I dragged a hand down my face. Jesus, Riley. I was scared, she snapped. All right. I was scared that if I pushed too hard, she'd cut me off. That she'd choose him. I inhaled sharply. So instead, you let her erase me. Silence. Riley looked away and exhaled. I didn't know what to do. I nodded slowly. Well, now, you don't have a choice. Her eyes narrowed. What do you mean? I pulled out my phone. I'm stopping this. Riley's face paled. What are you going to do? I met her gaze. I'm going to make sure he never gets the chance to do this to her or anyone else again. She stepped in front of me, arms crossed, jaw tight. I could see the tension in her frame, the twitch of her fingers. But I didn't care. I wasn't here to debate. I was here to end this. You can't just stop Jared, Riley said. He's already in Myra's head. If you push too hard, you'll only drive her to him faster. She's already running to him, I snapped. Or did you miss the part where she's transferring schools? Where she's about to hand over her entire college fund? Riley flinched. I didn't, she started. Didn't what? I demanded. Didn't think it would go this far? Didn't think he'd do it again? A bitter laugh escaped me. You should have known better. We both should have. Her jaw tightened. You think I don't feel guilty? I think you're more focused on keeping Myra's trust than keeping her safe. That one hit. Her face crumpled just for a heartbeat before she covered it again. I exhaled, tired and burning. Look, I don't have time for this. You want to keep pretending Jared's not dangerous? Go ahead. But I'm not going to stand here and let him do to Mira what he did to you. What he's done to who knows how many others. Riley stared at me, something flickering in her eyes. What do you mean? I unlocked my phone and pulled up a folder I'd created years ago, the one I'd hoped I'd never have to open again. Then I turned the screen to her. Riley's breath caught. There it was, the evidence. Jared's trail of scams. The fake businesses. The money stolen. The names of victims, people who had trusted him, believed in him, and been left with nothing. This isn't just about me, I said. This is what he does. He earns trust, sells dreams, and then drains people dry before moving on to his next target. Riley's face went pale as she scrolled through the files. Where did you get all this? I've been keeping track since the last time he showed up, I admitted. I had a feeling he'd come back eventually. Riley swallowed hard. And now Mira is his next investment, I finished. Unless we stop him. She stared at the phone, her hands tightening around it. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. You have a plan? She asked quietly. I do. She hesitated. What is it? I exhaled. We take him down. Legally. Publicly. We expose him. Riley's expression darkened. How? I glanced at my phone. With a little help. I scrolled through my contacts and dialed Oriana. She picked up on the second ring. Landon, I need a favor. A pause. Is this about Mira? Yes. And Jared? Silence. Then, what do you need? I looked at Riley. Connections. Someone who can help us bring him down for good. Oriana didn't hesitate. I know someone at the SEC. If Jared's soliciting investments under false pretenses, they can launch an investigation. I held the phone tighter. He's clearly trying to drag Mira and her friend's parents into this. Oriana swore under her breath. All right, I'll make some calls. Send me everything you've got. Already on it. We hung up, and I turned back to Riley. Step 1, get the SEC involved. Step 2, get the police involved. Step 3, I smiled coldly. Set a trap. Riley exhaled. You want to bait him? Exactly. She looked uncertain. Landon, if we do this, Myra's going to hate us. For a while. Probably, I said. But I'd rather she hate me for protecting her than resent me for letting him destroy her future. Riley looked away. She won't forgive me. She will, I said gently. Eventually. She let out a shaky breath. And if this doesn't work? I shrugged. Then at least I'll know I did everything I could. Riley hesitated, then nodded. What's the plan? I pulled up Jared's latest text from the family group chat. Big announcement at dinner tomorrow night. Can't wait to share the news. I smirked. We're going to crash his party. The next evening, I sat outside the restaurant watching guests arrive. Riley sat beside me, twisting a napkin in her hands, clearly nervous. Good. She should be. You're sure this will work? She asked. It's already working, I said, nodding toward a black sedan parked nearby. Inside were federal agents. And inside the restaurant 3 parents wearing hidden mics. Jared was about to pitch his fake startup, and we were about to catch him in the act. Riley exhaled. Myra's inside. I know. She's going to be furious. I know. She looked at me. You still want to go through with this? I turned to her. Would you rather let her hand over her college fund to a con artist? Riley didn't answer. I opened the car door. Let's go. The restaurant buzzed with conversation. Jared sat at the head of the long table, all charm and confidence, smiling at Mira like she was a trophy. I fought the urge to punch him. Instead, I walked forward. Jared's smile faltered when he saw me. Landon, he said, feigning surprise. Didn't expect to see you here. I smirked. Figured if this was a family dinner, I should be invited. Myra's expression darkened. Dad, what are you doing here? I didn't answer her. I turned my attention to Jared. So tell me about this business opportunity, I said, my tone light but edged. I hear it's a once-in-a-lifetime investment. Jared's smile stayed in place, but I caught the flicker of unease in his eyes. That's right, he replied smoothly. I'm offering my family and closest friends the chance to get in on something big. I nodded slowly. And all it takes is a few $100,000 from the people who trust you most. His eyes narrowed. Landon, I don't think this is the right time or place. I smirked. Actually, it's the perfect time. I turned toward the entrance. Because we've got a few more guests who'd like to join us. Right on cue, the federal agents entered. Jared's face went pale. They walked straight toward him. Jared Williams, one of the agents said, producing a folder. Jared stood up quickly, his voice sharp. There must be some mistake. There's no mistake, the agent said firmly. We have evidence of securities fraud, wire fraud, and investment fraud. You're under arrest. Mira gasped. Jared turned to her, trying to recover. Sweetheart, I don't know what's going on. This is all just a misunderstanding. Mira looked at me, wide-eyed. For the first time in months, I saw something shift in her expression, uncertainty. Dad, she whispered. I met her eyes. I told you, kid. Real family protects you. And as Jared was handcuffed and led out of the restaurant, I saw it happen the moment she finally understood. I had never been the villain. The room went silent. That heavy, stunned silence that comes in the wake of something explosive. The agents' voices had been calm, professional, as they read Jared his rights. A few guests gasped. Others froze, unsure whether to pretend they hadn't just witnessed a takedown or to start whispering about it. But none of that mattered. The only reaction I cared about was Myra's. She stood frozen, staring at the door Jared had been taken through. Her shoulders were tight, her fists clenched at her sides. I could see it, the illusion cracking. I took a cautious step toward her. Mira, don't, she snapped, her voice sharp but trembling. She turned slowly, eyes blazing. But underneath the anger, there was something deeper: betrayal. You set him up, she said. I held her gaze. I protected you. Protected me? Her voice rose, trembling with emotion, loud enough that a few nearby guests glanced over. You ambushed him. You got him arrested. I exhaled slowly. Mira, listen. Jared wasn't who you thought he was. I know who he is. She yelled, her face flushed. He's my father. I flinched. Not because she said it, but because of how she said it, like I wasn't. Riley stepped in gently, placing a hand on Myra's arm. Sweetheart, he was scamming you. He was scamming all of us. Mira yanked her arm away. You both lied to me, she said, her voice cracking. You humiliated me. In front of everyone. Do you have any idea what that felt like? Riley's face crumpled. Mira, I hate you, she said, the words slicing through the air. Riley froze. I swallowed hard. Myra's breathing was ragged now, her chest rising and falling fast, tears brimming in her eyes, but she wasn't finished. I trusted you, she whispered, voice breaking. I thought. She shook her head, choking back a sob. You didn't have to do this. You didn't have to ruin everything, Mira said, her voice thick with emotion. Riley tried again, her tone soft. Mira, we were just trying to keep you safe. Mira let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Safe. She turned her glare on me. You never wanted me to have a relationship with him. You just waited for an excuse to get rid of him. My jaw clenched. That's not true, isn't it? She challenged. You were jealous. You couldn't stand that he came back, that I wanted to be with him. I exhaled slowly, fighting the frustration, exhaustion, and helplessness that came with trying to reach her through the anger. You know what hurts the most? She continued, her voice trembling. I thought you were different. I thought you actually. She cut herself off, pressing her lips together and shaking her head. I took a step closer. Mira, I love you. Her breath hitched just barely. No, you don't. You just want to control me. That hit hard. It hit like a punch to the gut. I'd spent 16 years proving to her that I wasn't like Jared, that I wouldn't leave. I wouldn't hurt her. I wouldn't lie. And now, in her eyes, I was the villain. I nodded slowly, my voice steady. Okay, if that's what you believe, I won't try to convince you otherwise. Mira blinked, caught off guard by my calmness. But let me ask you one thing, I continued. If he was innocent, why did he run? She opened her mouth, then closed it. I stepped closer. If he was telling the truth, if he really loved you, why did he ask you to cut me out of your life? Why did he ask you to lie to your mom? Why did he need your money? She shook her head. He was trying to help me, she whispered. I softened my voice. By stealing your college fund? Myra's breathing became shaky, and I could see it, the cracks starting to form, the inner battle as her heart and mind tried to process everything. He said it was an investment, she muttered. I gave her a gentle look. It wasn't. It was a scam. And you weren't the only one he was trying to fool. Tears spilled over, and she angrily wiped them away. I knew better than to push her any further, so I let her stand there, arms wrapped around herself, the truth slowly sinking in, shattering everything she had believed. Riley reached for her again, but Mira stepped back. I need to go, she said, her voice broken. Riley looked at me, silently asking what to do. I shook my head. Let her go. Mira turned and walked out of the restaurant, her shoulders stiff and her head down. Riley hesitated, then exhaled. She hates us. I shook my head. She doesn't. Riley looked at me, her voice faltering. She just said it to our faces. I met her eyes. She's hurting. She's confused. She's angry. I exhaled deeply. But she doesn't hate us. Riley's expression wavered. How do you know? Because deep down, she knows the truth. Riley swallowed, staring at the door Mira had just walked through, the weight of everything we'd just been through settling heavily between us. Now we wait, I said quietly. Waiting. That was the hardest part. After months of watching Mira slip away, after everything that had just happened, after exposing Jared and watching her break down in front of me, all I could do now was wait. It had been 3 days since the restaurant, 3 days since she stormed out, since she looked at me like I was the one who had betrayed her, since she walked away without a second glance. And in those 3 days, nothing. No calls. No texts. Just silence. Riley was struggling with it in her own way. On the first day, she had paced around, picking up her phone every 5 minutes as if she expected Mira to suddenly change her mind and come home. By the second day, she had gone quiet, exhaustion settling into her bones. By the third, she looked like she had aged 5 years. I didn't tell her, but I had barely slept. I told myself it was because I was waiting for Mira to reach out, but the truth was, I was terrified she wouldn't. What if we had pushed too hard? What if we had done the right thing, but lost her in the process? What if, after everything, Jared still won? The thought alone made me sick. So when my phone buzzed on the morning of the 4th day, I nearly knocked my coffee over trying to grab it. Mira. A text. Just one sentence. Can we talk? I stared at the screen for a long moment, my heart hammering, before I typed back, of course, where? A few seconds later, she responded, ice cream place. I exhaled. 3 years. That's how long we had been going to that little ice cream shop. It had started as a tradition after dance classes, a way to bribe her into talking to me when she was younger. Over time, it became our thing. And now, she was reaching out. I grabbed my keys. The shop was nearly empty when I arrived late afternoon, too early for the usual evening crowd. But I had a feeling Mira had picked it for that reason. She was already there, sitting in the corner booth, hands wrapped around a small cup of mint chocolate chip, the same flavor she had always gotten. But she looked different. Not angry, not defiant, just tired. I walked over slowly and slid into the seat across from her. She didn't look up at first, just kept her gaze on her ice cream, poking at it with her spoon. Finally, she exhaled. I don't know how to start. Then don't, I said gently. Just say whatever's on your mind. She hesitated, then quietly said, I feel stupid. That took me off guard. Why? Her fingers tightened around the cup. Because I should have known. I should have seen it. But I wanted it to be real so bad that I ignored everything. I let her sit in the silence for a moment before responding. That doesn't make you stupid, Mira. That makes you human. Her eyes flicked up to mine, searching. You're not mad? I was never mad at you, I said softly. Frustrated? Sure. Scared? Definitely. But never mad. Her lips parted slightly, as if she hadn't expected that. I leaned forward. Mira, you were lied to, manipulated. That's not on you. That's on him. Her jaw clenched, and I saw the flicker of anger. But this time, it wasn't directed at me. Why did he do it? She asked. I sighed. Because that's who he is. He takes. He convinces people to give up everything for him, and then he disappears. It's what he's always done. She exhaled, rubbing her temple. I feel so stupid for believing him. You believed him because you wanted to, I said, and that's okay. We all want to believe that people can change. But the important thing isn't that you believed him, it's that now you see the truth. She let that sit for a while before asking, barely above a whisper, why didn't you fight me harder? I frowned. What do you mean? When I was pulling away, when I erased you from the photos, when I said. She swallowed hard. When I said all those things, why didn't you stop me? I studied her carefully. Would it have worked? She blinked. I shook my head. You weren't ready to hear the truth yet. If I had pushed harder, you would have just run faster. Her throat bobbed. But I never gave up on you, Mira, I added. Not for a second. She inhaled sharply. I said I hated you. I nodded. You did. She looked away, guilt flashing across her face. I didn't mean it. I know. Finally, her shoulders sagged, the weight she had been carrying for weeks crashing down on her. Sorry, she whispered. I reached across the table, covering her hand with mine. I know. She sniffed, wiping her nose. You're supposed to say it's okay. I smiled gently. No, it's not okay. But it will be. She let out a breathy laugh, shaking her head. God, you're such a dad. I chuckled. You're just realizing that now? She rolled her eyes, but didn't pull her hand away. Mom's been freaking out, she admitted. I figured, I said. She thought I wasn't coming home. I met her gaze. Are you? She hesitated, then nodded. Yeah. I exhaled, relief washing over me, but Mira wasn't done. One condition, she said. I raised an eyebrow. Oh. She took a deep breath. I want to help. I frowned. Help with what? She looked me straight in the eye. I want to make sure he never does this to anyone else. I blinked. Mira, she said firmly, he used me. He used my friends. He almost stole my future, and I let him. Her hands clenched into fists. I don't want to just move on like it never happened. I want to do something about it. I studied her carefully, pride swelling in my chest. She wasn't just healing, she was fighting back. And I wasn't going to stop her. I nodded. Okay. She exhaled in relief. Okay. I glanced at her melted ice cream. You gonna eat that? She snorted. It's basically soup now. I grinned. Another round? She hesitated and then smiled. Yeah, let's do it. We stood up and walked toward the counter. And for the first time in months, Mira walked beside me not as someone trying to escape, but as someone ready to rebuild. Healing isn't a straight line. It's messy, unpredictable. Some days, it feels like progress. Other days, it feels like you're right back where you started. But today felt like progress. Mira had come home. Riley and I had been sitting in the living room when we heard the front door unlock. The sound was so normal, so routine, that for a moment, neither of us reacted. But then I saw Riley freeze, her hands tightening around the throw pillow in her lap. I turned just in time to see Mira step inside. She wasn't carrying a suitcase. She wasn't making a dramatic entrance. She just walked in like it was the most ordinary thing in the world. Riley shot up from the couch. Mira? Mira hesitated in the doorway. Yeah, it's me. For a long, painful moment, Riley didn't move, like she wasn't sure if this was real or if one wrong word would send Mira walking back out. Then she took a careful step forward. Are you? Mira cut in before she could finish. I'm staying. Riley's breath hitched, and I saw her throat bob as she swallowed, her emotions threatening to spill over. Oh, sweetheart. Before Riley could finish, Mira crossed the room and hugged her. Riley collapsed into the hug, wrapping her arms around Mira like she was afraid to let go. I sat back, watching them, letting them have that moment. Then Mira turned to me. She didn't rush toward me the way she had with Riley, but she didn't hesitate either. She just looked at me for a long second before nodding. I meant what I said at the ice cream shop, she murmured. I nodded back. I know. And just like that, the weight I had been carrying for weeks finally started to lift. She was home. The next few days felt lighter. Mira wasn't avoiding us anymore. She didn't immediately go to her room and shut the door. She was still quiet, still processing everything, but she was here. She asked Riley for help with her history project. She sat next to me on the couch and stole my popcorn during a movie. She stayed at the dinner table instead of rushing off after eating. Small things. Huge things. Then one night, she knocked on my office door. I looked up from my laptop. Hey, kid. She stepped inside, holding a manila envelope. I found this in my room, she said, placing it on my desk. Jared asked me to mail it last week. I frowned, picking it up. What is it? Investment paperwork for his startup, she said. I flipped through the documents, my stomach twisting. Sure enough, it was exactly what I thought, a contract for an initial investment of $50,000. Mira, I said slowly, were you actually going to sign this? She shifted uncomfortably. I thought about it. I wanted to prove I believed in him. I exhaled sharply. And now? She met my gaze. I want to add it to the evidence file. I studied her for a moment. You sure? She squared her shoulders. Yeah, I want to be the one to hand it over. A slow smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. All right. I reached for my phone. Tomorrow morning, we'll deliver it together. The next morning, we walked into the district attorney's office. Mira had been quiet in the car, but now, as we stood in the hallway, I could see her nerves creeping in. She was gripping the envelope tightly, her fingers twitching slightly. I nudged her. You okay? She nodded quickly. Yeah, it's weird. What is? She exhaled. I spent so long thinking he was the one person who really saw me, who believed in me. And now, I'm helping put him away. I nodded. That's not easy. She let out a soft laugh. No, it's really not. I glanced at her hands. You don't have to do this if you're not ready. She tightened her grip on the envelope. I am. Before I could say anything else, the door opened, and a woman in a navy blue suit stepped out. Mr. Carter, Mira. Mira straightened. That's us. The woman smiled. I'm Assistant District Attorney Wells. Come on in. The meeting didn't take long. Mira handed over the documents, answered their questions, and told them everything she had heard Jared say, every promise he made, every lie he fed her. She didn't hesitate. When we left the office and stepped out into the cool morning air, Mira let out a deep breath and smiled. I raised an eyebrow. That a relief smile or a nervous smile? A little of both, she admitted. I grinned. Proud of you, kid. She smirked. You going to start calling me kiddo next? Absolutely not, I said. You'd disown me. She laughed, really laughed, and God, I'd missed that sound. Then she nudged me. Ice cream? I blinked. At 10 in the morning? She grinned. Breakfast of champions. I shook my head, chuckling. Let's do it. As we walked down the sidewalk toward our favorite shop, I realized something. This wasn't just healing, this was rebuilding. Mira had made a choice. She had chosen the truth. She had chosen to fight back. And, most importantly, she had chosen me. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.